Dog owners, please pick up your poop. Okay, so my daughters love to go to this park about 15-20 minute walk away. And along the way already, we're already navigating through heaps of dog poop, smeared dog poop, poop everywhere. I assume and I usually hope it's dog poo because obviously if it's another type of poo, we have different problems and situations. But I have seen dog owners watch their dogs just defecate on the street and in mid stride turn around, look, and just walk away. And, I live in the middle of a big city. I actually heard recently that when the snow melted in New York, there were parts of places within New York City where there was so much just poo that had being not picked up by all these dog owners that when the snow melted, it was just like an entire sidewalk filled with poo. Because there is just such a love for pets in their own home or their own situations, but out in the world, it's a free for all. It's disrespect city, and I can say even within the place where I live and the area that I live in, like right at the front, front gates, front door, there is poo all over the front foyer. There's poo all over the living spaces, the walking spaces. There's pee, there's just wet dog smell. It is just nasty. And I grew up loving dogs. My wife and I talk about it all the time. Like we grew up, my wife had a dog, and but we grew up, where dogs were a part of the community, and people would make sure that their dogs were on a leash. I'm gonna make an entirely different video about that because that is wild what dogs are allowed to get away with these days off the leash and the size of some of these dogs and the people's attitude. But today I'm just gonna deal with the poop. So we're at this neighborhood park, and I'm going to go through a few stories just at this one park alone. And all of a sudden, one of the little girls who's there, she can't be more than one in a little bit. There's just this wretched smell, and so okay, well maybe it's her own brew, but it doesn't smell like it would be her own brew. It smells nastier than that. And lo and behold, when the mom goes to pick her up, there is poo just right beside the playground. And so that poo is all on her pants, has gone up her leg, and this poor little girl is now, basically drenched in dog poop. And for those of you with a bit of a queasy stomach, I'm so sorry that you may be listening to this right now, but I'm doing the dishes. I'm not making food here, so hopefully y'all take it with a grain of salt or a drop of dish soap. Anyway, so that was just heartbreaking because this poor mom, she's already exhausted. She's got so much going on, and now she's got to go deal with she dealt with cleaning up her baby at the park. Her other daughter, she doesn't want to take her up. She's just from school. There's so many other responsibilities, and another careless dog owner just let their dog just poo. And it wasn't a small poo, it was a big, wretched, nasty poo. Like it covered the entire baby's like bottom and a bit of her upper back. And all she did was just sit down for a second. Like this should be a place where people, human beings are the ones that are taking care of the most. But it's just this ever growing trend. And I don't know what it's like for you in your city. And if you'd like, please give me a comment. Tell me if it's happening in your city as well. But it's outrageous. These just the lack of hygiene that people seem to have. Like I don't even want to see what people's homes look like. If they're letting people do it outside of their home, what does it look like on the inside? And these are not like ghetto neighborhoods. These are not tough income neighborhoods. I find actually, if anything, people in tough income neighborhoods actually care. They actually take care of their stuff, the animals, the people when they can. Of course, like really tough neighborhoods, you got other problems. You got drugs and gangs and all the stuff you're dealing with. But I'm talking about just like straight up, just tough neighborhoods. People tend to care. Like a lot of immigrant families. So this is like highfalutin. We came here, yeah, maybe as immigrants or whatever, just like my parents did. But they have completely disregarded. In their multi-million-dollar home, $500,000 homes, condos, whatever it is, they disregarded, just the basic human need to walk across the street and not step in a pile of nasty. And I guess the reason why I'm so adamant is not because it's in the streets and it's in my building foyer and it's in the elevator, but we had, sadly, our daughter 2 years ago. She was at the park, and I guess we were there early that morning. And you never think you have to check a slide. You never have to think you have to check a slide for poo. But, here our daughter comes sliding down the slide, and we see a brown streak on the slide, and there's an immediate stench. A dog halfway down this tube slide had taken a dookie, and the only reason we assume it was a dog is because there was kind of scratch claw marks in there where the dookie was. And our poor little, I think she was 2 years old at the time. We have to take her home. We have to shower her. It's not like now where they're wearing multiple layers. She was wearing shorts, and this poor little girl. My daughter could have had an infection if it was just awful. Anyway, I say all that to make a plea to dog owners. Please pick up the poo. This is unbelievable. And I know that there's some mental health issues, and there's people who maybe can't pick up their dog poo or whatever as easily. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to grasp at straws for this disgusting habit that seems to be everywhere. And I'm talking about all over the GTA. I'm talking about, anywhere from northern Barrie. It's 100. If you're not familiar with Toronto, it's 100-kilometer radius where everywhere I go, unless you're in a really nice rural community and everyone actually cares about where they live, there is just poo everywhere. Dogs are, it's crazy. And then you're pushing a stroller, or maybe you're on your bike or something, and all of a sudden you roll through that and it's going everywhere. It's I don't know. I don't know if y'all are experiencing this stuff or not, but this dog poo stuff is really getting to me. I know we don't live in abstract filth. We don't live in, the slums of Calcutta and all that stuff. But, I would have thought that moving to a neighborhood like this, that I would not be, basically spending most of my time looking down at the ground trying to avoid poop. When you have beautiful skylines and you have beautiful weather outside and you are like a hawk, with your beak down, searching the floors to make sure you don't miss, a skid mark or some poo somewhere, because there's a dozen dog owners that have walked by that morning and that they've unleashed on the floor. It's pretty depressing. It's pretty vile. As a dad, and I don't think people understand. I think a lot of the times these dog owners that don't have kids, and some of them do, I'm sure, they just don't realize the havoc they're putting on parents. And maybe some people do it intentionally. Maybe they do it for kicks. Maybe they have a camera set up, for all I know. But they just really don't understand what they're putting other people through. And it might be even a cultural thing. Some people are well, the other dog owners in the community don't do it, so why should I? Please, we're not talking about even trash here. This is feces. Dog owners, pick up your animals' feces. Come on. I can't believe I'm having to explain this, but at the same time, I understand exactly what's going on here. Yeah, Thomas, that's for sure. There's definitely mental illness going on, and I fully understand. But these are highfalutin, wearing Louis Vuitton, going out for nice walks, but their heads are stuck in their phones. They're just self-centered, just nasty acting folk, and it boggles my mind how we've kind of come to this. This is, in some ways, it feels like quite the marker of the end of a civilization. I don't mean to sound off like the sky is falling, but I will do another video on $5,000 dog strollers, and people, their animals almost attacking my children full on, and I've seen other children being attacked, and how the owners just defend their animals, and they're like, no, there's no way my dog bit you. And I'm like, there's blood permeating through the child's shirt. And it's unreal the way that people treating animals, like these little gods. And again, I go back to growing up. We had pretty much, I think all of my friends had an animal growing up, and I think I don't know, I'd say about 40, 50% of my friends had dogs. And in houses in not just rural communities, in Toronto, like in a major city. But the dog, they maybe if they did sleep in the bed, they weren't allowed in certain places. They there was rules and regulations. The animals were always on a leash. Kids were not afraid of the dogs. People understood that just because you own a dog and you love your dog doesn't mean that everyone else owns a dog. I don't know, maybe I'm just ranting and raving now, and I'm just, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here to be going off like this, but this is crazy that like dogs can just go around our city unleashed, pooping everywhere, and we spend so much money on rent and cleaning the city. And to be honest with you, Toronto is a pretty darn clean city. It's not Japan. It's not, a lot of other places. But the amount of skid marks that are everywhere. And again, to see that on that little baby today, like her just sitting in a park and it just, oh man, it was just, anyway, hurt my heart. And, all I can say to y'all, people or parents or whatever, is, I don't know, somehow band together, get more laws and signs going. I actually saw a really good sign lately by the city of Toronto, which again is not going to do anything to these people, but it was a funny sign. It said, "You may like your dog, but not everyone else does," and it's extremely true. So yes, that's the end of my little rant here for the night. I hope that they figure this out because it's not good. It's not good for anyone, and in particular for the little kiddos and their health as a whole. Oh yes, 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 yes. This is definitely a first world problem, but a first world problem that has me absolutely fed up. So, if you'd like to watch any other dad doing dishes, probably rants, I'll probably make a playlist just for rants. Please take a look at the playlist right here. If you'd like to subscribe, which would be very helpful, you can do that right here. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day, evening, morning, or night. God bless.